Konnichiwa. Welcome to the Martial Maze. I'm with a new partner in crime. Again, Barack Yalashidoshi is still here, folks, but the Martial Maze is growing, and we're going to kind of discuss it in today's episode. Why? What's happening? Why the shakeup? Why are we adding more people into the fold? And I'm really excited because this brother's a reoccurring guest. Had him on often, and we have good chemistry, and that's why it works. So we asked him if he'd step up and, enjoying the maze along with, Glenn Beck from last week, So, yeah, Baba Blackhawk, what's going on?
Greetings and blessings, everybody. Greetings and blessings, my brother. Everything's good, man. A lot to talk about. But we also have great conversation.
Yeah, we do. On and off the air, folks. We really do. We normally chop it up at least once or twice a week. I guess I get a little homesick for the city, I guess. It's one of those things. Yeah, man. So, because we did get asked, getting a lot of fan mail, emails that came in, and folks asked and said, what's going on? Where's Barack and stuff like that. And we had to explain that Barack is still here, and we're doing round table kind of things and stuff like that. And I said, well, we really want to diversify a little more. And it's really because I've spent, I would say, at least the last 15 years of my martial career in the sport of martial arts, meaning judo and jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and judo. And that's, even though we do have striking and we do address things for the street and judo for the street, it's still the sport. I still spend more time in the sport and a lot less time dealing with the street application or why I would use this in the street and all that other good stuff. So with that being said, it made more sense to have other voices in, right? And stuff like that. So we got a former bouncer who is still very much in the private security business and stuff like that. That's Glenn Beck. And we said, well, we need to bring somebody else in. And I said, Barack is in Massachusetts. We have a lot of folks that are still in the city, and I said, let me see if Blackhawk's available. And you thankfully were like,
yeah. When you talk about sport versus the street, that for the better half of 30 plus years, martial arts related, that's where I live. And growing up in Brooklyn, still here in Brooklyn. And even with my job, it takes me to some areas where you better keep your head on a swivel. So that's kind of pretty much my wheelhouse. So I'm happy to be on and join the Martial Maze on this, and ready to have some great conversations both ways, because I respect the sport.
Oh, well, you must. I'm like, you must.
You got to. Everything has its place.
Well, I can't say it enough, man. If I'm living my life in such a way where violence misses me, then when am I ever going to do the other stuff? Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When am I going to, I get it. You keep your knife sharp. I still go shooting. I go shooting all the time. And so I happen to hit people with the earth. And that can be a bit problematic. And fold them inside of their clothes. I'm like, that's where I'm at. That's the world I'm living in. And that's real hard to not get yourself in trouble in real life,
It is. One thing I can say though is I always sleep good at night.
Well, you know what I mean?
Because I believe in giving people blessings.
Yeah.
More than one. So, everyone has a bad day, and sometimes you just, what, I understand you've had a day. Let me get you a drink, or, let's just go our separate directions. And if someone doesn't want to take that blessing and they don't want to take the second blessing, there's usually not a third.
Yeah, how does Barack say it? You better respect my malevolence.
There you go.
I love when he says it too, because I'm like, well, it's what he told you.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't let this ass whooping, don't take it personal. Right? It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
That's realistically it. If you don't spend a lot of time in a field, you may be able to still talk knowledgeable about the basics, right? But you start to lose that razor's edge, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not really dealing with it all the time. It's like, you can always tell a guy who used to do sport and who really doesn't anymore, because a lot of times they're still thinking of an old rule set when the rules have changed. They might go, oh, well, I could, and my secondary, and I'm like, that's a Han Sokomake. You just lock this leg with your arm, and sorry, that's you get penalized. It's not going to work. Or that'll work great in a BJJ match, but you just got yourself disqualified. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or that works great for sport judo. Like, yes, you would have gotten that ippon, but you just gave up a perfectly great back position, and you're now going to get choked out in a BJJ match. So, you're kind of playing in both realms here,
And for me, I'll be getting disqualified because what you mean I can't stick my thumb in the eye and rake to the corner?
Well,
but it works so well.
Right? It's simplistic. Why are you doing all this extra movement?
Maximum efficiency, minimal effort.
Yeah, it is. It is maximum efficiency, right? Recently was sent a reel. And I thought it was the coolest reel ever. So I had to kind of talk about it real quick. I know I'm kind of going off subject. So a guy comes on and he's talking about and he comes on like Super Patriot, right? And he comes on and he's like, yo, this just happened and I'm really upset about it. And he's really serious, right? His face is serious. And he said, my child, was sent home from school with an assignment that they have to celebrate this holiday that comes from another country where they have to wear certain kind of clothing. And if they don't, they can be pinched. And then I find out all the store owners, they're doing this and they put the flags of that country. And this is not, it's another country. It's not USA. It's another country. And he gets into this whole thing, this rant, right? And then he goes, happy St. Patty's Day, folks. And I thought it was great. Right. So, of course, what did I do? I sent it out to a ton of people because it really was. It was because at first you just knew. Right. I just knew it was going to be something about Puerto Rico or something about, and then I'm like, oh, no shit. How very smart. That was very suave. Because look, politics, whatever you want to call it, whatever people want to kind of brand it as. I always say this. I said, the one, politics is personal. And two, it is a type of martial art, believe it or not. You can do a lot with it. You can weaponize it. Think about all the things that are happening right now, right? Civil unrest. There are a lot of things that, and there are folks that actually study this. Sun Tzu, right? The Book of War. Yeah, they still utilize a lot of those tactics in political circles, along with in business, right? We see it all the time, right? So that's my only thing when I dip back and forth. I dip the toe, if you will, and so because some people get, oh no, there he goes, he's bringing out a soapbox, but I'm just as passionate about what affects our day to day or kitchen table as I am what affects us in the martial community, right?
Okay.
Right. So that's the off subject rant.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of validity in what you just said there, but you said something earlier when you were talking about going through the different rear naked chokes, things of that nature, and it made me think of back in the day. If you go back to like late 80s, early 90s, you were a bad man with just the rear naked choke, and I'm talking about. This is sport, non-sport industry, because not a lot of people you only needed 2-3 moves and you were like an expert, right? And something else you said was, you got to constantly sharpen that knife, sharpen that blade, keep updating. Today, rear naked choke is like sneezing, right? That ain't, everyone's seen it. Everyone has an answer for it, right? You have to kind of expound and expand on your tool set to remain relevant in whatever field that is you're doing, right? Especially now with AI popping up everywhere.
Yeah, but I give a small little pushback, but do you though? I mean, if you watch a lot of high level fights or high level matches, you still see, it's still to this day, I still see basic judo and basic Brazilian jiu-jitsu. How they get there is a little more complicated, but there's still, even MMA, right? You're still seeing real chokes, even though you're right. It's the one thing everybody.
You need more than just the one, though.
Well, yeah, but it's like we have different. What I like to say, I like to throw the Japanese in there, different kazuris, right, or different ways of doing it, right, and stuff like that, or having different names for it,
right.
We have a Corriere Jame, right? Sliding
Right.
collar, just sliding.
Right.
Anytime it's a sliding collar where you're choking, still the same principle, same concept. It's
Yeah.
just done a
Yeah.
sneakier kind of way, right? So we got a little
Yeah.
slick with it, right? It's the same
Yeah.
thing with look. If I understand, if I get this arm around your neck and I can get here, great. If I can't get here, I get here. If I can't get that, I hold your shoulder and rotate, and I'm still getting the same thing. Go ahead.
But that's my point, right? You just gave some wonderful hinkers or variations to those things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Back in the day, you didn't need all of those because no one was getting past the first thing, right? But as things became more common, now it's like, okay, am I gonna box this guy? Oh, well, he got a boxing stance. Let me grab a bat. Because again, I'm going back to the street, right?
Okay.
Pick up a trash can, drop it on somebody. Look over there, throw some sand in the eye. I don't know, whatever works, right? But back then, you wasn't really. That's all you needed for a good little while to just dominate. Here's my actual thing that I'm thinking about. Do we really need the new stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's always a new. I remember when the rubber guard came out. I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. My legs don't do that. I won't be doing that." Pop a hip, you know. And so when we get back to the Newaza, right? Talking about the Gatami Waza on the ground, the BJJ, right? Or Judo or Jiu-Jitsu, depending on who you're talking to, right? Because it's all the same
Mm-hmm.
thing coming from that same source, right? I'm kind of I'm not up on all the newest things. I look at them, you stay apprised of it, but I'm not jumping on every new fad move personally,
Okay.
right? Because what works, works. And when you're talking life or death, not that I'm going to do BJJ in the street, right? But if I find myself in that position, I know what to do.
Okay.
So when it's kind of life or death and it's not sport, do you really want to be trying some new move out there when your life depends on it? Or are you going back to what's tried and true?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So a lot of times you're going to default back to basics just a real fight, right?
Yeah.
Or we always say we fight the way you train and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and you will. However, I mean, I will also say the downside to that is if you if you're a sport judoka, right, and you can get off a sport version of the throw that you're used to doing and stuff like that, it's a double-edged sword. I kind of think I'm going to lose my point, even though I'm trying to make a point. But let me walk that back and just say, when I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't know what I know,
Right.
I can hit them with almost anything at will, right? It's like getting into the ring with a world-class boxer. I love boxing.
Yeah.
I understand the concept. I understand what's supposed to happen. I've trained boxing. I've been in a boxing ring, never did it professionally, did it on the amateur, but I would never really even call myself a boxer because getting in and having an aggression session with someone and actually doing golden gloves and stuff like that without the head, I feel like that's real boxing. What I was doing was sparring with somebody and just kind of having fun with it. But I've been in the ring with professional boxers that, I'll give you a really good one. I was attending a training session at the Whitleys in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and I just got in the ring with Brent Whitley. He's one of the trainers, and if you're a fan of the show or the Modern Combatives, you can catch that. It's a good boxing episode that we did with them. And Brent, who is a world-class wrestler, world-class martial artist, him and I, we get into the ring, and I'm left-handed, so I fight softball. And just moving around with him, and he's just bobbing, weaving, and just cutting into me. Now, this guy, I want to say, weighs maybe about $150.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think Barack is heavier than he is, or they're the same, same build, and he's just, listen, he's just making me look like I shouldn't even be in this ring, period. In fact, you need to take these gloves off, give us, pay your money, and just be a spectator, okay? Because you're going to get killed, and that's somebody who's on that level, right?
Right.
So for him, it's like that Spider-Man movie, right? I'm throwing this jab out, and he's just kind of looking at it. It's just passing by him, like this is what you call it. That's a fast jab
This
to
guy's
you.
serious?
Yeah, right. Well,
You gotta
you
be
really
joking.
here? I'm gonna hit you like, hey, I'm gonna use my finger. Pap, 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 pap. You know what I'm saying? And he's putting a clinic
Yeah,
on me, right? So I liken it to that, right? So if you're really good at it, then you're not really using the high level things that you would use with another high level fighter, right? It's something
true.
that one of the guys I train with, Ray Marquez, talks about a lot. He said, look, high level guys, two high level guys together, now your sequences matter, right? You can't just get away with gripping anywhere. You can't just let the guy get an attack off because you're going to get thrown. You can't you're not going to just grab a guy's shoulder. You're not getting that sleeve grip. That's just not happening. That's some college shit. This is not going to happen
Yeah,
at this level. And he's right. At that, when you get to the more elite or the high level judo, or like the what I call like the NFL of judo, the,
yeah.
the basic grips are ineffective, right? They're just not getting those grips on high level guys. I think it was Travis Stevens once when doing a tutorial. He had talked about a gripping sequence and a technique that he liked to use, and he says, "You'll never get this on me, though." Like as he's teaching it, that this at my level, this we're gonna laugh at you. This will never work. But it's a good place to start, right? And
Right,
stuff like
right,
that. And
right.
I like that. It made sense to me. So when we think of fighting in the air quotations in real life, that's 9 times out of 10 what you're going to encounter. You're going to encounter somebody that doesn't know what you know, because we've always talked about this in past episodes, and you and I have talked about this a lot. Real fighters aren't really getting into fights. They're not getting into street fights.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
no.
We're just not doing that.
Yeah,
That's not the world we live in. Now, maybe at a nightclub, working security, law enforcement, maybe, and even
yeah,
then, it's a little different.
yeah.
And God helps somebody when they do try. You know?
And there's enough video out there on the web about that, right? The recent thing is people catching elbows to the jaw, right? Because they're mouthing off thinking that it's going to be a shoot a fair one or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes from this to the elbow ending up over there and the person ending up down,
Oh yeah.
right? Because that's kind of the aggression has already started, if you were, right? Anyone who's been in a couple of scraps is not going to wait for that person to get off that first shot. They already know what's happening. Let me be first if I can. If I can't, that's the thing. You go to the next level of the thought process, and like you said, there's kind of like steps that you go through until you get to that thing that works.
Yeah. I mean, the sucker punch is a real thing. People get mad about it and, well, that wasn't a fair fight, and I'm going, yeah, it was.
Who's here to fight
Yeah,
fair?
I'm like, yeah, it was.
You
You
know,
the fool you didn't take your self-protection seriously. I mean, excuse me, and your self-defense.
there
Because
you
that
go.
looked like a
I
solid
mean,
hit to me. You sleep.
never underestimate a good headbutt.
Yeah, you sleep. That's one thing I do love about Samba or Sambo. Is they allow especially full contact, the headbutt. So
Yeah.
yeah, you get there was a guy at our gym who cross trains, and we have a guy who teaches it, and him and I were just kind of messing around, and I'm kind of just peppering up, I'm just playing with it, thinking I'm cool, right? Trying to keep that
Mm-hmm.
knife, and I realized that knife is no longer sharp. It's actually it's a little dull, because I'm
Right.
throwing hands up, moving, and kicking, and he came in, da 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 da, what got in close and said, huh. His head came forward, and he was like, "Yeah, that's your nose." I was like, "Yeah, yeah," but what happened was, ooh, that was my nose.
Right.
So I mean, look,
Right. Right.
this is a kid who keeps his knife sharp.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
training all the time. So,
Short and sweet. Gonna get you home.
well, so because this has come up, it came up on your reel. It's come up when we've done stuff with Professor Show,
Yeah.
and I'd love for you to just address that, because look, I know it works. Because I was there,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. We were pressure
Yeah.
testing it when we were filming. But
Yeah.
when people watch it, a lot of times they get in that place where that will never work. That will never worksies. So can we break that down a little bit on?
I would love to.
Yeah,
Imagine you going hunting for a bear and you pull out a golf club
okay.
and you're waving that shiny golf club in front of the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like that's a stupid thing to do, right?
That's yeah.
They don't see the guy that's behind the bear with a sniper rifle. Context. Your job was to be the rodeo clown,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you take it into context, they're like, oh, that doesn't work in my sport. This is not sports, sir. Right? And until you've had your radial nerve obliterated with a elbow or a good shuto, knife hand, block, forearm, rising, until you got hit on those nerves and feel how your legs just kind of dissolve underneath you. You know, when you get popped in the throat, it's like Spider-Man when he watched the hand go by. When you first attack and you get hit in the radial nerve with an elbow or something like that, and time freezes, by the time you come to, because after you got hit, you got rattled, those nerves. Then you got popped in the throat. Now you can't breathe. By the time you come through and you're looking at the thing that hit you, I'm over here. You know, and if you're dealing with somebody and you stop in their vehicle, which is their legs, now you can deal with their weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a science to it. And anyone who's ever stubbed their pinky toe and knows how that feeling feels,
Yeah.
you know, Family Guy did it best. That was a beautiful thing that they did, but that's real. So when someone throws that punch and you crack those knuckles, or you kind of come in and you pop that bicep and it bounces to the throat or to the jaw. And by the time it's over, you've already broken their kazushi, their balance. So, you know, and let's not forget the thumb to the eye and rake into the corner.
Yeah, well,
You
I
know,
also feel like a lot of times when folks haven't dealt with any kind of real muscle disruption, or when those kind of things happen, they always think in because again, when we're in the dojo, we're in a calm, cool environment,
yeah,
and again, I get it where when we're actual fighting in a real crisis situation, our adrenaline's going. And we're not feeling that kind of pain, which is what makes muscle disruption so much better than
yeah,
pain compliance and stuff like that.
yes,
Because I'm not making you in pain. I'm just
yeah,
shutting down the power that would come from that part of your body and stuff
yeah,
like that. Like when you punch somebody or you hit them right in the, I want to say the ulnar nerve, and you
yeah.
get it, that arm goes dead whether they want it to or not.
Oh,
You
it
know?
radiates, it vibrates. You know,
Yes.
it's like getting hitting your hand with a hammer.
Well, they can't grip.
Yeah,
Like that grip is gone, and so
yeah,
and I've actually had that happen to me in real time, where it
yeah.
was just gone. Like the signal that was supposed to tell my hand to squeeze was gone. It was like somebody cut the power out.
So true stories, short story, true story. Had a student that was training with me for years, and then he had to take a break because he went back to school. He's, you know, he works his job. He's a new dad. He had a lot going on, and he's like, he got to focus on his masters. No problem. Calls me about 3, 4 months after he stops training. He was like, "Thank you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He was out with a friend. The friend got drunk and belligerent, mouthed off to the wrong person in Brooklyn. A knife got pulled.
Mm.
And because he was standing with the guy, they went at him also. And he hit that radial nerve. He just reacted. Knife went flying because, like you said, when you hit that thing right, you can't hold on. It's going to pop
Yeah,
out.
signal's
If you
gone.
know it's coming, because you see this video also, right? Where the guy holds on, go ahead, hit it. If you know it's coming, you're going to squeeze through it, right? But if it's regular, that thing you hit the back of the hand, it pops out. You get that right. So it's, again, what lens are these people who are commenting looking through? They've never been there, they've never experienced it. And so when I hear that and I see that, I thank everybody for their opinion and invite them down to come and try it for themselves.
Well, and I feel like that's the thing. We tell folks all the time that even in the show, hey, look, if you're skeptical, come down. Be
Come on
humble
down.
about it. I mean, you walk into someone's place looking to try to make a name to yourself for yourself, and you may walk up on a bad decision. You may
Yeah.
walk in and you may be being carried out.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the sad part, right? Because I think in the end of the day, I think we and I'm not going to touch base on he who must not be named, a foolish individual who
Yeah.
made statements and comments, and again, the offer was still there. Like, hey, look, come
Yeah.
through, or we'll come
Yep.
to you. You know what I'm saying? But understand, this is a place of learning. This is a place of knowledge. We're gonna get better with the thing. You can train for it all the live long your day. It's like Tyson famously once said that everybody has a game plan until they punched in the mouth. Right?
Yep.
You can train for it. You can be like, I know Lopez is gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this when he does, and I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna kick. I'm gonna do all this crazy stuff. Right? Boom. He's never gonna get his grips on me until I do.
Yeah.
Until I whisper, "Hello, sweetness."
Yep.
Because that is a thing. Yes.
Pull them close.
Yeah, and I will say sweetness. You will be uncomfortable as you're being thrown. It's just a thing. I'm like, here we go. Ready? I'm about to take you home. Oh, country road.
Oh, I love that song. Yep.
I really do.
Yep.
It's the immigrant song, man. I love singing it.
Speaking of the science of the thing, there's a reason so many people respond exactly the same when they get caught with a liver shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the brain shutting the body down and say, protect yourself because something's gone horribly wrong.
Yes.
Right? There's a reason people tend to end up in that same fetal position.
Mm-hmm.
Because, what do they tell you to do if you're in a plane crash or whatever? Ball up, right?
Yeah.
The brain knows what to do. Shuts that body down because the body's doing something dumb.
You're hitting the nail on the head, man. I'm like, that's why certain techniques in the martial community are always the same. Yeah, people try to dress it up. No, in our system we do this, or in this system we do that. But one of the things that one of our frequent guests that come on the show, Haskins Sensei, tends to talk about a lot is pragmatic is simple, stupid, right? Once you understand the tool technique, same thing. Once you understand the tool, your imagination will allow you to use it in different ways, stuff like that, right? But that tool is still going to be the same. That mechanic is still going to be the same.
Yeah.
And again, the human body hasn't changed, right? It hasn't evolved, and we still only got 2 legs, 2 arms, a torso, 1 head, right? And it only can move so many ways, right? And attacks can only come from just only 2 different directions, right? Either directly in front or on arcs. And it sounds really basic when you say it, and people go, well, no, it's a little more complicated than that. And I'm like, and it's not.
That's the principle.
Yes.
Once you understand the principle, that's where the art comes from, where, like you said, you could put together in a lot of different ways to suit your use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was I sitting down when the person tried to run up on me? Or was I standing? Was my back against a wall when it was 4 or 5 guys? Or was I standing in the middle of a field?
Yeah. And then you'd really say something, and he says a lot, and I love it. He says, look, if you teach somebody to address situations, it changes the whole game, right?
Yeah.
They address in his system of study, that's the Underground Alliance Martial Science Research Association, the UA way. And his book talks about it a lot too, and stuff like that. He teaches his guys to address situations. You reach in your toolbox, right? And I love his tool analogy. It's why I say it. And I've adopted it. I had to take it, but I always have to give him credit, right? You always give credit to where it came from. And the tool analogy is great. He's like, look, you collect tools, right? Because we've established that tools and techniques are the same thing. You collect all these tools, right? So you imagine if you got a hammer, screwdriver, this, that, and the third, right? Phillips head, you got tire irons, all this stuff. If you get a flat tire, you're not going to pull out a hammer, right?
Right.
Right. You're going to grab your wrench. You're going to grab you open up your toolbox and you pick the right tools to address the situation. It's no different in the martial sciences. I'm going to pick the right set of tools to address a situation. So I don't need all this extra fluff. If I just need to know what tools I'm going to need to address this. If the attack is coming this way, I'm not, if he attacks spinning in the air in a ball and his hands, like it's still coming forward, right? And stuff. I'm being really ridiculous with it. And I understand why it gets frustrating when people hear it, because it's simplifying the complication. In most martial arts systems or schools, I will say, not so much as systems, but most martial arts schools sell complications. And look, it's commercial. right?
Yeah.
It's driven. You got to think about what the context is, right? And context is everything. We've done episodes about this. Context is everything. If the goal is for me to make a living off of a martial system, then it makes more sense for me to sell you the complication. I'm still selling you the art. You're still getting solid martial art, but it's also going to have a whole lot of stuff to keep you coming back, right?
I mean,
because
paying for the black belt track.
well, yeah, well, no, not even with that. I mean, like, I just don't understand that whole concept, right? The black belt plan. You get a black belt in 2 years or 6 months. You'll get a black belt, right?
Yeah.
For $19.95 plus shipping and handling, or even. It's just, I mean, it's like self-sabotage, you know. I'm like, look, if I'm gonna do something like that, I say, look, man, we're guaranteed black belt in 8 years if you do ... which is really what everybody else is doing.
But
so
see, the crazy part is martial arts was never meant to be a business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. You're trying to take a square peg and fit it into a round hole, right? I don't want a million students. I really don't, right? That's why I have a 9 to 5. I teach the way I teach because my purpose is a particular purpose. And this is why when you go into most schools, they'll ask, what goals would you like to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
And if someone says they want to be the next Naga champion or whatever the case is, or UFC, I'll tell them, listen, this is not the place for you. We teach you how to get home in one piece. If that's what you want, I could recommend a couple of places. Not a problem. But, and if you don't like what I'm doing, no hard feelings. There's the door. I'm not trying to keep students and placate the students. I'm teaching the martial way.
Yes. No, I hear you.
And that's the focus of my particular school. Now, other schools might be competition based. So you're learning how to do the twirl and the acrobatics. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's got its place. And guess what? Having that type of agility can be applicable to a real life situation. You don't want to be stiff and be in a street fight. Pull a hand while someone's trying to mug you. That's not good. So,
Well, I think that was the thing about most commercial dojos, why a lot of them evolved to other things, other attributes, right? Because I say this all the time and people get annoyed when I say it, but the truth is the truth is the truth. Look, self-protection is living your life in such a way where violence misses you. Self-defense is the intervention. These things you can learn in less than 6 months and never need to walk into a martial arts school again. These are the best practices. These are the things that will keep you alive. And actually, it's the knowledge. It's living a life in such a way where violence will miss you will be the most beneficial thing to you, right? Because it's teaching you situational awareness, teaching you to spot the threat ahead of time, all that stuff, right? And then the intervention, which is a self-defense, needs to be simple, stupid, and very pragmatic, right? So and I hate using this as an example, but I am going to use this as an example. A really out of shape person should be able to use that stuff, those tools. Those set of tools need to be as basic can be. It needs to be a hammer, a screwdriver, a flathead at that, a hammer, a screwdriver, right? You know what I'm saying? And a monkey wrench, right? You know what I'm saying? It's not overcomplicated, right? It's very simple, stupid to deal with a basic set of things, right?
Right.
And that's what it's meant for. It's very basic. Because if I did all the other things right, I never need this. So this never needs to be a whole tool chest. It just needs to be simple, stupid to address some basic situations that I may find myself in when this stuff fails, right? And
so you said something, not to cut you off.
No. Oh, no, it's a conversation. There's never a cutoff. Come on.
So I don't know where you are if you got the news, but in New York, there was a young lady that was walking, got to the corner, getting ready to cross, waiting for the light, and a guy came up behind her with a knife and just started shanking her.
Yeah.
And this is literally this week.
Oh, wow.
And there was no rhyme or reason. They didn't know each other. There was no connection. He just decided to come up behind somebody and stab her a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the video, the news stopped the video on the first thrust, so you don't see the stab.
Mm-hmm.
But She's walking. She might have had headphones on. I don't know. Head down in the phone. Never looks behind her. Gets to the light and just kind of waiting and just in her own little 2 foot, 1 foot bubble. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm looking at it with my wife, and I'm like, when people see this, I don't understand why more people don't seek out knowledge on what can I do to avoid that. And she had a great question. Well, how are you supposed to protect against that? Right? Well, I know personally when I'm walking, I'm turning and looking 45 degrees. I can see direct behind me that way. And I know if someone is within 10 feet of me, sometimes I might stop, turn, and look at them. Let them pass. Let them make someone feel uncomfortable. Don't be so polite that you allow. There's been plenty of times I've been in an elevator and dude walks in and he's looking at me and he's asking me a question. Yo, brother, take your hands out your pocket before we even go any further. And they look at me, I'm like, hey, take your hands out. I don't know this cat.
Yeah.
And they look at me like I'm nuts, but what won't happen is you ain't catching me off guard like that.
Yeah.
I don't care if it comes off as a little bit rude.
No, that makes sense.
For your safety
yeah.
and mine, let's all have a good time.
Well, I mean, you're hitting a nail on the head, and your wife did have a good thing. I mean, nothing is 100% foolproof. Nothing, right? Tomorrow's not promised to anybody, and it really is. And that's the whole point of a good self-protection, self-defense program is it's supposed to be simple, stupid for just that reason. The situational awareness, all those things. And when we watch those videos, we always did into Monday Night Quarterback, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? This person should have been paying attention. But here's the thing. We can't rationalize irrational behavior. In a civilized society, people aren't really walking up and shanking people, like, right? Maybe prison system that they are, but even then
he turned himself in afterwards, by the way, the next day.
Right. So there's a gentleman from Las Vegas martial arts, MMA. I need to really get his real credentials because I follow his stuff all the time. And he
oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, man, that brother, he's got some, but he had posted fairly recently a video like that where there's this dude sitting at the light and the other guy just walked and stabbed him up for no rhyme, no reason. And the dude didn't even realize he was stabbed until he turned around. His body hits the shock. He sits down. He's touching his side. And he realized he's been stabbed. And that's how quick that kind of thing happens. And again, you can't protect yourself for something that you're not aware is even a threat, right? So I tell folks all the time, and again, I got this from Haskins Sensei, when you make living your life in such a way that as your best practice, what sounded crazy in the beginning, right? Where you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Why would I sit at the top of a movie theater? I want to sit in the middle with the comfy seats, right? Where I could see everything. I have a good time, right? It's a movie theater. Or when, I'm just driving in my car. I mean, my door automatically locks. I shouldn't be. Why am I paying attention to the joker next to me? You know what I'm saying? Or when I back in all places. I back in when I pull my car in and just all of that. Well, yeah, I take my purse and I just walk with it and just get in my car, right? And all those things. And I'm just giving you some examples, right? Where when you start saying, well, no, put your purse in the backseat of the car. And you tell them why. Well, because that way you always look in the backseat of your car, right?
Yeah.
If I go to my back door, I'm always looking in first before I open it, right? Unless you got an automatic Tesla. You look in, right? And even the Tesla comes equipped to let you know if somebody's in the car. Believe it or not. That's really cool. But movie theater, if I'm sitting up at the top, I know there's no one behind me and I can see the exits, right? And stuff like that. Like all the crazy, it sounds crazy. I do it all the time. Unless I got somebody watching my six, I never sit with my back towards a door at a restaurant. Period. And I'm not saying because I've raised a lot of hell and I never know if somebody's going to come get me, right? Because, that could be a thing in Massachusetts anyway. But, it's just, I want to see who's coming in. I'm going to pay attention. I give eye contact. Barack, I'll tell you, especially in Tampa, we looked like we were going to get into something just because I was paying attention to this brother who kept coming around us and stuff like that. Maybe he wanted to have a conversation, or maybe he was looking to see what he can, if he could just pull something off us real quick. You know what I'm saying? Or two-piece us up. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know his intent, so I was letting him know that I saw him. You know what I'm saying? And that might have been the difference in the world. But again, all those best practices, when you ball them up in a nutshell, make you sound crazy until you make it normal. And then for you, it's no longer crazy. And when somebody says, well, why is it important? Oh, come on, man. Do we really have to sit? Why can't we just take this table in the front? And I'm like, well, can I sit on the other side of you? Well, Oh, I guess. Well, why? Because I want to pay attention to who's coming in. Yeah, I mean, no one's coming to get you. Look, they may not be coming to get me. Look, this guy
Yeah.
could, terrorism's a real thing. I'm like, this guy could
Yep.
be coming in to get that joker over there. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? And he may just start to spray, and I want to see him coming. So I could say, hey, we need to duck or we need to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd like to have that option. I don't want to be that dude going, oh, no, all I heard was a bang, and you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and there was that, right? And it's kind of a doomsday scenario, and I know that's never a good place to be, but we're martial artists. That's the thing. We live in the martial diaspora, if you will. We're always thinking about combative like situations, you know, or at least we should be. And now the average sport or tourist or hobbyist may not need to have all of that. When folk come to us, especially women, and they want to train and they say, look, I need self-protection, self-defense, circling all the way back to when I said it's 6 months. 6 months. If you want to continue coming here, great. But we're a judo school. You're gonna learn judo here. You know what I'm saying? Now, the byproduct of you learning judo is you're going to have some basic self-protection, self-defense techniques because it's judo. It's still a martial system, right?
Yeah.
It's no different in if you took boxing. Boxing, the byproduct of learning how to box is if somebody tries to throw hands at you and don't know how to box, you're going to smack them up pretty damn good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you learn all the illegal stuff first. You look, people are like, well, in boxing, kidney punches are very real. When you're training in boxing, you learn how to kidney punch. You learn what a rabbit punch is. You learn how to, when I do that hook, I lead with my elbow just in case I miss, right? Got that from an Irishman and stuff like that, right? So, right. So, yeah, he throw his hook and that elbow would come, woo. And so
let me ask you this, right? You was talking about when women come in, and it just reminds me of a story where, like, in my mind, I'm still 5'6" and 145 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
People keep telling me that that's not my actual size. I don't know if I believe them or not. I think they're lying to me. I don't know. But that's how I approach my defense systems, right? If it could work for the small person, it can work for the larger person. And things like I may not be able to reach your ribs if you stiff arming me, but I can get to that elbow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about when women come in, here's the question: what's your thoughts on fitting the person to the art versus fitting the art to the person?
So in my system of Sini Rubudo Shunru Goshindo, so our concept has always been we fit the art to the student, never the student to the art.
Yeah.
But one of the things I will say, and I don't even know if I should have said but, a frame is a frame is a frame, right?
Yes.
I can teach you how to frame on a bigger person, but to get you to practice the concept of framing, you might do it with somebody your size, right? Because it's just easier to practice it, if you will.
Right.
Now, if I understand neon belly, right? Let's use that as a really good one. Neon belly, you can use things from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that you can use pieces, not all of it, but pieces in a real combative situation if you're a smaller person and have it be just as effective as if you could take a big guy like me and still put me in a really uncomfortable position. So the knee, when you're doing knee on belly with your friend, right, in training, you might go, knee kind of goes to where the hip is, right, the hip and lower abdomen and stuff like that, right, boom, and that's your kind of knee on belly and stuff like that. But when you're actually doing your knee on belly, it should really be on a 45 and closer to the sternum, right, so that you're impacting with the I want to say the liver, you're on that part of the body, right, and it should be really uncomfortable.
Oh, right by the liver.
Yeah. So you're training, like, so if you're doing that to your actual training partner, if you do it just once and you do get it right, you'll know, because they're instantly in pain. Like, it's like, oh, hey, this is a really uncomfortable position. Dude, I got 6-pack abs, but God, that sucks. Don't do that again. Because it's meant to be a transition place, right? I'm supposed to transition here, get here, and then go someplace else. Get off you, hit you, pepper you up, do something, break the arm, and then get out of there, right? In the sport, I might go here, make you really uncomfortable to get a reaction. Now you're going to react, you're going to curl because you don't want that knee there because it sucks. We just established that. So you're going to shift, you're going to move, and that's going to give me another position. And boom, and I can work my game from there, right? So we can take these concepts, give them to women or somebody smaller, and then teach them the framing, how it works, and make sure they understand how to use that tool. Once they know how to use that tool, they can use that tool everywhere in any which way. They can use something else in place of that leg to use as that tool. Maybe that bar stool. You understand what I'm saying?
This segue into the next thing, right? So in Tobotori no Kudai Jiu-Jitsu, which is my system, right? That's a mouthful. That's why we just say T and K. But tactics, strategic advantages, the way you approach something is really kind of one of the things that we really focus on, right? And you kind of touched on that a bit, right? You can teach a smaller person how to frame on a larger person. They start with somebody their size, but strategically, if you had to do that against that larger person, there's some things that's going to have to change a little bit to give you that tactical advantage, right? And I think sometimes people who are teaching are so rigid, right? It was taught to me this way, this is the way you do it. There's nothing wrong with that, but then, okay, now let's start to think. This is the way I was taught. I'm teaching to you the way it was given to me. That's the way it was given to them. Now, let's break down the science of it and let's use the science because depending on who's engaging you, you're going to have to modify. What if the person you were taught like a kodagaesh, right? A wrist lock, but you're doing it on someone who has rubber hands. Well, then you got to adjust that a little bit, right? So now instead of the wrist lock here, right, you jam that into their ribs by their liver, that angle, and you attack the shoulder a little bit. You attack different things. Maybe you just slide to a finger instead of bending the finger back, because some people can bend that finger back pretty far. I'm not one of them. That's about where I go. Then you just crack that knuckle to the side, right? All in an effort to break their balance to get to the eyes. Because if they can't see you, it's harder for them to do something to you, right? You make them preoccupied with something else so that you can eat. Again, Thanksgiving. But that part of it, the strategic tactical side, I feel sometimes gets lost, right? You're given all these tools, but and you taught how to use a tool on a particular thing, but you're not taught to think and analyze.
Well, this is why the pressure testing part, that's I think what people mean when they say pressure testing. In the pressure testing, it really goes to the instructor, the school that you're in, and stuff like that. Case in point, randori. So randori for judo, in most cases, is free play. But when you walk and watch guys randori, in most cases, it looks really close to shiai because no one's giving, especially at high level. I'm like, look, Ray's never going to let me grab that shoulder. He's just not. He's just not. I'm like, in fact, I'm looking forward to that this Saturday. We have a big clinic going in Charleston, and it's just really going to be some training. He's going to make sure everybody's broken by the time we get to like the 20 million rounds of randori. But the whole point is it's that concept, right? So if we're pressure testing, then it's not about just getting to that knee on belly or to get to those fingers, right? Now I have to begin to understand how I can get to those fingers or how I can get to that knee on belly, right? And the only way to learn that is by going from one position to another. So this isn't mine. This is something that I started seeing more. I started seeing it with Tim Planet, but I've seen a lot of other BJJ schools start to kind of adapt this way of teaching, which is kind of unique. And I, at the time, didn't understand. It was kind of like Common Core math. Didn't understand it until I started watching my wife do it. But you know what? I'm going to tell you what, that algorithm is pretty nice. I mean, some of us learn the algorithm. Other ones is a Common Core. My mom, I said my mom. My wife can do percentages in her head that I still have to write out, right? She uses the Common Core, but she uses both because we all still learn the algorithm, right? 2 times 2, the times tables and stuff like that. What we call
I use Google Assistant.
Oh, it's hilarious. But with that being said, with the pressure testing in dojos, and I say that's why it depends on the instructor, is you want or encourage, okay, I gave this example, right? So I gave the person reaches their hand out, you pass the hand, and boom, you're going to collapse the elbow in. It's going to make them bend, and now I'm going to get that osotogari, right? Let's say that, right? Person reaches their hand out. We're going to address an osotogari. All right. So we've done it a couple of times. All right, now the person that you're going to run Duri with, well, they're not going to do that now. Okay? Now you have to get to that. How do we get there? Now becomes the thing, right? So addressing situations, right? There'll be sometimes it's not there for me, right? And I'm not going to force it. I'm going to look if he doesn't reach out, I just keep my distance. We have a thing. If you can touch my hips, you can come in, right? You can grab my legs if you can touch my hips, right? From a standing position. So again, attacks only can come so many ways, right? So at some point, this person's going to have to reach out, either a cross grip or this grip, and then I can address it. They come with the cross grip. This hand comes up first. I bypass them. When they come with the other, there it is. There's when they're reaching out. Now I'm bypassing. Now my hand comes up, and now there's my osotogari, right? If I'm doing it that way, right? And stuff like that. So, but they won't learn that until they start doing that. And I was going to say this. So 10th Planet, I've seen it more in 10th Planet, but I've seen other schools do this. Instead of teaching the basic stuff, what they started doing is this. Look, they have one guy lay down on the ground, and the other guy from the standing position has to get around them and get to the top part of their body, right?
Yeah.
And with no, they just say, hey, look, you're on the bottom. You have to stop that guy from getting to the other side. So what ends up happening is the guy on bottom starts, as the guy tries to get to the top part of his body, he spins and he's keeping him at bay. And the guy really can't get around him. And he's learning the weird mechanics that we typically would spend a lot of time teaching. I'm gonna shrimp this way I'm gonna keep one leg up, right, on his body. I'm gonna keep a frame here so that he can't get around the top part of my body and the top quarter of my body, and all that stuff that you would have spent all that time teaching.
Given.
Yeah,
there's no scope
it's just
given.
Get to the top.
You get there. Don't let him get around you.
Yeah, don't let him get around you. Don't let him pass your feet, right, and stuff like that. So they didn't teach him anything else. Just let him get around your feet, right. And watching how the body naturally starts getting there, and then they start teaching the concepts. But by then you already kind of understood what your body was supposed to do. You understood the situation. I don't want him to get to the side of my body, so I'm going to stop him from passing my legs, right? And you start getting those concepts without being taught those concepts from day one. It's kind of neat because, again, as teachers, and I know it's a really long-winded way of saying this, I give you the example, right? I can teach you the mechanic. You have to learn it. The learning part you do on your own, and you need time. And the only Kano said it best, man. The only good way to do judo is to be doing judo, right? And so the only way to learn is you got to do it. You got to be throwing. You can't be doing anything else. If you're doing something else, you're not doing judo, right?
So I got a crazy question for you. Under the guise of Vendorian and all that type of stuff, right? Do you know what any of your dojo brothers sisters fingers taste like?
Fingers?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean they.
So you've been fish hooked too. So it's not just me.
Oh yeah, no. That's we call those the dirty moves.
Yeah.
Those are frowned upon.
That's when the teacher is not around and it's just the lions in the den, and
You know what? No, we you get at a good school you get taught all that stuff so that you know to expect it. Like guys who still throw a sotogari with their heads, so they lead in head first. With the osotogari, yeah, man, you catch a good one if you end up in a bad position, you may get knocked out.
Yeah,
now don't get me wrong, referees know that stuff too, so a lot of times they're looking for it along the way, and you can tell if a guy's a dirty player or not for that reason. It's typically frowned upon. I said, judo, we're thugs on the mat and gentlemen when we get off it. I can't say the same about most karate. No,
it was kind of encouraged because it was kind of like. Going back to shit, you're not gonna get me. I'm making it home. Well, I'm like, I looked at him and I let go from the gross factor alone. I was like, I should not know what you're.
Why are you putting your finger in my mouth? What you doing?
What's wrong with you?
That is assault. I'm like,
oh, it was salty.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's just gross. There's laws against that now. But there's unwanted finger. That's rape, according to New York, right? Ain't that New York law? If you put it could be a finger or something like that without consent, that's still a form of rape as defined by what their rape
I
statute
would
is.
have
I
to
don't know. We have to look that
refer
one
to
up.
the
Yeah,
books on that one,
yeah.
sir.
I'm like, yeah.
I'm not
I
sure.
thought they changed all of that fairly recent. Well, not fairly recently. I think it was that Eugene Carroll case that they came up or something like that. It was something like that where they defined what rape was.
You know what? Got some sad news this week, right? Or was it last week? Um, Chuck Norris passed away.
You know, it. I had so many things back in the day. I mean, like, death doesn't come for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris comes for
Right,
death, right? I'm
right,
like,
right.
and it,
Yeah,
but it's dealing with folks' mortality, in the martial community. These
yeah.
and for those that were never a fan, I mean, I was always a Chuck Norris fan. I don't care
Always,
what anybody
always.
says, man. I'm
You,
like,
you know,
I was,
mhm.
he was a great actor too, but he was also a
He was a
solid
great human
martial
being, though.
artist. Well,
Solid martial,
well,
was
there
a
were
good
people who had mixed.
person.
There were. I heard mixed stories. I only met
Really,
him once, way back in the day, and I thought he was an amazing person. So,
that's
yeah,
kind of
I
the
still have to play
impression I
devil's
got also.
advocate, though. There are some people that were like, but I'm like, you can catch somebody on a bad day. You know what I'm
That's
saying,
true
and stuff
too.
like that. Like, you catch somebody on a bad day, it sucks. Them's the breaks. So God rest his soul. But
Yeah,
from
yeah,
everybody else said he was a sweetheart of a guy, and but he was a no nonsense guy. Don't
yeah.
come here
That's what I
playing. Don't come
always
here
have heard.
playing. But he was
Yeah.
also a real fighter. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he was a movie star, but also a real fighter. Like he fought
Yeah.
at one point in time. He did full
Yeah.
contact karate. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. When it was real full contact karate.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
stuff. So
Yes.
with that being, and he was still freakishly fast, not as fast as Bruce, but was pretty up there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And but yeah, an amazing actor. He really helped along the way with a lot of other martial artists, like make normalize the martial arts being done on television. And there are a lot of people who became martial artists because of Chuck Norris and the movies and
Right.
things like that. Because remember, you had Bruce and there was Chuck, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm trying
Yeah.
to think back, and I'm like, well,
I
yeah, there
mean,
were other
for
names out
me,
there, but I'm talking about famous movie stars during that time. There was
for
a
me, it was Jim Kelly
no, that's what
personally.
I'm about to say.
But
We had Jim
I
Kelly too.
love Chuck. Respect Bruce. All of that. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say a passing of the guard, but it's a change of, what's the best way to put that? Losing Chuck is significant to the martial arts world, I would say.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he's definitely a really good representative of regular karate do because you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
see
good
much of it
ambassador.
anymore, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
been bastardized by MMA. Which is kind of
a few
walked away
things,
from it.
right? A
Well,
few
because
people.
it was never meant to be a sport. I know there's a lot of historical references to it in the Japanese when they took it.
Right.
They really wanted to have something that competed with boxing, so they made this style of karate, and
Mm,
it is very much meant to be a sport, but it's the closest thing that we have directly to an actual martial system where things like the eye gouging, all that stuff, where it's really more, it favors more real life. The punch kick karate stuff, and that's what I call it. It's punch kick karate. And I know people get upset when I say it, but once you take out the vital point striking, all the things that makes most martial systems deadly, all you're left with is punching and kicking. That's it. How
yeah,
does that differentiate itself from kickboxing or Muay Thai at that point, right?
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you might as well train in those things and you'd get the same education that you would get if you were doing the other stuff. The only difference being if you took and put back the vital point striking, all the things that makes the Okinawan martial art deadly, right? And stuff like that. Then that's a whole different. That's like this guy brought fist to a gunfight. You know what I'm saying? Because when you
Yeah,
think about the whole Okinawan martial art, that's where that kind of karate comes from. Which I'm thinking when I say that, I say Shotokan, and I'm thinking of more of that. It's Okinawan in
yeah,
origin, and yeah, that stuff that Okinawan martial systems was we killing people. Like we
yeah.
ain't playing with you. It's not a movie.
Yep,
It's ain't a game. You know.
absolutely.
I will say that Chuck Norris, the choreography, um, he made it less foreign and more practical. If you think
Mm,
about the movies and the way the choreography went, like, so Chuck Norris kind of like with Bruce, but when Bruce did his movies, the other guys knew martial arts too. They would kind of square up, kind of, sort of, you know. And then, but when Bruce really started embracing, what was it? The Game of Death? There was another one too, where the street thugs came out more like thuggy, but they still would try to throw hands up like boxers and stuff like that. You know, what I liked about Chuck's movies were it was more something you would see kind of in real life. You know what I'm saying? The dude's coming up out of nowhere like, yo, trying to throw hands, and Chuck be like, care with that right? You know, knocking people in the next week like it was none of no one's business. You know,
so like, rest in peace, Chuck Norris.
Yeah, so rest in peace, man. That's yeah. But we still gotta throw some love out to Jim Kelly though. Like, I have to say that part.
He's the reason I became a martial artist.
Well, and then we have to address, without getting too far into that, because I want to do that on another day, because Black History.
I think there's a whole episode right there.
Oh, yeah, well, no, I was about to say, because Black History is every month, not just January, February, and that kind of like, no, but, and a lot of the reason why his name isn't as known as it should be was because of that. You know what I'm saying? With the way black actors were treated and things like that, and then the way the
he just wasn't going to do certain things, which I respect.
Well, yes, exactly. Yes, and stuff. So they didn't. There wasn't a whole lot of notoriety there, especially with some of our Hispanic brothers and sisters that in the martial community that got no love at all. You know, and stuff like that. Especially with capoeira. No, but they did have that movie about capoeira back in the day, but that was more regional and not Angola. So there's that. All right, so we're at time. So for those that want to possibly have us answer a question or be on a show, or, you know, just kind of want to tell us what you think of what we're doing, you can catch us either at our website, which is themartialmaze.com, or you can email us at www.martialmazeofficial@gmail.com. That is, you know, obviously, if you want to leave us a long letter and all that other good stuff, or get in contact with us. Okay. So, want to thank my new partner in crime, Baba Blackhawk.
It's been a blast being here, Lopez Sensei. Great to be part of the family.
Yes. And you've been listening to
The Martial Maze.